Hey class, how's it going? This week we're going to continue our exploration with surrealism and how artists took ordinary images and created extraordinary works of art. What you're going to be doing this week is creating your own surrealist self-portrait. What you're going to do is take a selfie or have somebody else take a picture of you, and you're going to create your own surrealist self-portrait. So you're going to start off with an image of yourself, and you're going to add 5 symbolic images. And all these images have to do with your identity. So as opposed to last week, where our project took 5 images that had nothing to do with one another to create our work of art, this week every image in your composition is going to be directly related to your identity. Your self-portrait will represent an aspect of your identity while showing an understanding of design principles. And this means that you're going to arrange your work of art so it looks visually interesting at the same time as it speaks to your identity. So remember, incorporate design principles such as balance, contrast, space. One example that I'm going to show today is taking a black and white portrait of me and combining it and contrasting it with color images in my work of art. So these are a couple options that you have for this project. So feel free to follow along. I'm going to go over how to include your image into the artboard using pixlr, and also how to crop the images I'm going to use. I'm going to speed through a lot of this because I went through it last week, but I did want to show you at least my process of working on this project. I signed into pixlr and I'm opening up a new document. I set it to a score format. I use the Instagram template. Right now I'm scaling my self-portrait, which I dragged into my artboard. I'm making sure it's the correct size. What I'm going to do next is try out the wand tool to erase the background. I do notice that it takes off some of my face. So in order to fix that, I'm going to go and use my lasso tool to clean up that right edge so the magic wand tool doesn't delete it. So the next step I'm going to do is go back, use my magic wand tool, and get rid of the background. Right here I'm going to use the eraser tool to clean up any leftover artifacts and smooth out the edges of my portrait. That way it blends in nice and neat against the background color I'm going to use. I can use the toolbar at the top to fine tune the way I use my eraser brush. It helps me soften up the edge or harden it up or increase or lower the opacity. Next up, I'm going to use my lasso tool to actually crop out my hair, because that's where I'm actually going to incorporate my 5 symbolic images to go along with my picture. Next step, I look for a background color to complement my portrait. I notice that my edges are a little bit harsh, so I'm going to go in and fix those up with the brush. I'm going to lower the opacity so my edge is nice and soft and it looks like my images blend into each other a little bit better. I want you to notice that the symbolic images that I bring in, that the backgrounds are simple and flat color, usually black or white, and this makes it a lot easier for me to use the wand tool to remove the background, leaving my main image and saving me time in terms of editing or cropping. At this point I'm going to speed through bringing in all my files, cropping them. What I'm going to do is arrange them on my artboard so I can work with them later. At this point I just want to make sure all my images are cropped and ready to go when I need them. And the next step will be me arranging them to make it into an interesting looking composition. Alright, so at this point I got all my images that I'm going to be using. This is the fun part where you can actually start to mess around and arrange all your images that you selected. You can duplicate, you can adjust the colors to change them up and make them different from one another even though you're using the same image. Take time to mess around with scale. This can create a nice and interesting composition, if you think about it in terms of emphasis, the way you juxtapose images against one another. You can desaturate them, make them monochromatic, like my face. One of the reasons I chose to go with color images is because it creates a nice contrast between the desaturated monochromatic portrait that I'm using of myself. You can also change around your colored background if that helps before you proceed, to make sure you're happy with everything that you're doing. One of the nice things about working with Pixlr is that you can arrange everything in layers, and that helps you keep things organized, move things from the background to the foreground. What I'm going to do next is actually change the color of my background, because I think working with black will make everything pop and create a stronger sense of contrast with the images that I've chosen. And one thing I do want to remind you, make sure you save your self-portrait tidily, save it as a JPEG, and download it to your desktop so you have it ready to upload with your reflection. Alright, good luck everybody. Hope to see your project soon. Bye.